Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on really an incredible journey into ancient wisdom. We're looking at a specific story from the Buddhist tradition, the Aññatarabhikkhuvatthu, which translates to basically the story of a certain monk.
That's right. In this deep dive, we've built it from excerpts of two main sources. One is Aññatarabhikkhuvatthu 25.md. The other is Aññatarabhikkhuvatthu.txt. Our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to really pull out the most important insights. Everything from, these amazing spiritual attainments to the really quite surprising complexities of relationships across lifetimes.
Yeah, lifetimes, plural.
Exactly. And what it all means for understanding the power, the sheer power of your own mind.
And you might think, okay, it's just an old story, maybe a bit dusty, but honestly, this is where it gets really interesting. It's absolutely packed with incredible details about, well, extraordinary human abilities, and a core teaching about mental mastery that feels just as relevant today as it must have centuries ago. So let's unpack this. Okay, so part one. Our story kicks off in the ancient Kosala kingdom. It's near a mountain in this pretty densely populated place called Matika village.
Right.
And you've got 60 monks. Picture this. They've just received these profound meditation instructions, kamahana, directly from the Buddha himself. And they arrive here looking for a spot for the rainy season retreat.
Yeah, they were looking for what the text calls a place of ease, yathatha sukhanat. Basically somewhere quiet where they could practice without all the usual worldly distractions getting in the way.
Makes sense.
And they find this amazing benefactor, the lay devotee, who happens to be the mother of a man named Matika, the village owner. She spots them, invites them in straight away, offers them, delicious rice and porridge. And when she gets what they need, this quiet place for the retreat, she just offers them a monastery.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that, generosity.
So the monks accepted, obviously. They saw her as this crucial support, someone to help them escape from existence, as the text puts it, Pavanasaran-katu. But here's a really curious detail. They set up some very, very strict house rules for their practice.
Oh, absolutely. Very strict. They made this resolution, not to act with heedlessness. They kept reminding themselves that the 8 great hells were like open doors if they got complacent. Real serious stuff.
Serious motivation.
Definitely. And they made a specific rule. No 2 monks could be alone in one place. Sitting or standing doesn't matter. The only exceptions were morning alms rounds and evening service to the elders.
That's intense.
It is. And they had a system, too. If any monk got sick, they'd strike a gong right in the center of the monastery, and the others would immediately come to help. It really highlights their commitment, Collective discipline for individual liberation.
Okay, so one evening, the lay devotee shows up. She's bringing all sorts of nice things, ghee, treacle, other delicacies. But she gets to the monastery and doesn't see the monks gathered like usual. She asks her servants, hey, where's everyone? And they tell her, oh, they'll be in their individual huts, their day and night quarters.
Right, practicing individually.
So she asks, well, how can I see them? And the servants explain about the gong. If it's struck, they'll all gather. So she thinks, okay, and has the gong struck.
And the moment the monks hear that gong, their first thought isn't, oh, dinner time. It's someone must be unwell. Instant reaction. So they all emerge from their separate spots, converge in the middle of the monastery. And what's fascinating, as the text notes, is none of them came from the same path. They all arrived individually.
Which the lay devotee notices. And for a second, she thinks maybe they'd had an argument, coming from all different directions like that. So she asks them, have you guys been quarreling? And they clarify straight away. No, great lay devotee, we haven't quarreled at all. We were just practicing samana dhamma, ascetic practice.
Right.
And they explain a bit more about what they were doing. They said, we are reciting the 32 parts of the body, the Vatisakara meditation, and establishing the idea of decline and dissolution of the self, kayavaya, in our being.
So a really deep meditation on impermanence, focusing on the body itself?
Exactly. Trying to see the body as it is without attachment, focusing on its kind of impermanent and not inherently attractive nature.
Okay, and this is where we get the first real aha moment. The lay devotee, she's incredibly curious, and she immediately asks if she can practice this too.
You can just imagine her interest, right?
Yeah.
And the monks confirm, yeah, absolutely. The Buddha didn't forbid this teaching to anyone. Anyone can practice. So they taught her everything. And she starts practicing diligently.
Super diligently. And here's the really surprising bit. She attains the 3 paths and 3 fruits, these major stages of enlightenment, before the 60 monks do.
Wow. Before all of them?
Before all 60 of them.
Yeah.
And along with these big spiritual attainments, she also gained the 4 analytical knowledges, which is like this deep intuitive wisdom and worldly aññā. These are like special abilities.
Well, what kind of abilities?
Well, the text specifically mentions the divine eye de Bhikkhu, seeing things beyond normal sight and the ability to know others' minds, parasitajanana.
Mind reading.
Mind reading. Okay, that definitely raises a question. What is the significance of her gaining mind reading specifically?
Well, we're about to find out how that plays out, because after her attainments, she uses her divine eye, this new ability, to observe the monks. And she sees, they still have attachment, aversion, delusion, lingering. They haven't quite got enough deep meditation, jhana, or enough insight, vipassana. And then she realizes something crucial.
They lack suitable food, arsapaya, the right kind of food for their intense practice.
Ah, so it wasn't just about any food, but the right food for their specific needs at that time.
Exactly. So from that point on, she starts preparing all sorts of different gruels, snacks, meals with different, really excellent flavors. Basically, offering whatever she perceived each monk needed or desired for their practice.
That's amazing support.
Incredible. And because they started getting food that was actually conducive to their meditation, their minds became much more focused, one-pointed. And that allowed their insight, their vipassana, to really grow.
And the result.
Not long after, because of this perfectly suitable food, and of course their own diligent practice, all 60 monks attained arahantship, full liberation, with analytical knowledge too. And they were deeply grateful to her. They thought, wow, this great lay devotee, she's really become our support. If we hadn't received this suitable food, we probably wouldn't have reached these paths and fruits.
Mm-hmm.
So after the rainy season ended, they went back to the Buddha and just praised her wisdom, explaining how she provided exactly what they needed, almost, as if she knew their minds, which of course she did.
Okay, so that's the story of the first 60 monks. But now, part 2, things take a slightly different turn. A new character enters.
Yep. Another monk hears about this incredible Matika mother, about her qualities, her wisdom, maybe even the food.
Huh, maybe.
And he decides, right, I want to go there to practice too. So he gets his meditation instructions from the Buddha and heads off to Matika village.
So he arrives at the monastery, and the very first thing he thinks is, okay, this lay devotee supposedly knows thoughts. I'm pretty tired from the journey. I really won't be able to clean the monastery right now. Oh man, if only she'd send someone to clean it for me. Just a passing thought, right?
It's just a thought. But the lay devotee sitting at home instantly knows it and immediately sends someone over to clean the monastery for him.
Whoa. Okay, so the next morning he thinks, oh gosh, some sugar water would be really good right now.
And boom, she sent it.
Then he thinks, tomorrow morning, smooth gruel and a nice side dish would be perfect.
And she sends exactly that.
He thinks of a specific snack.
She sends the snack. This must have been completely astonishing for him, right? Like every little thought, every wish.
Manifesting instantly, it really highlights just how precise her mind-reading ability was.
Absolutely. So the monk then thinks, okay, this is incredible. This lay devotee sends everything I think of. I really want to see her now. Oh, if only she would come herself, bring the food herself, with all those excellent flavors.
And guess what?
You guessed it. The lay devotee, knowing his thought, prepares the food and comes herself.
So after he finishes eating this amazing meal she brought, he asks her directly, are you Matika's mother, the great lay devotee everyone talks about? She confirms yes. Then he pushes a bit. Lay devotee, do you know the minds of others?
And her answer is really interesting. She doesn't just say, yep, I do. She sort of deflects, but also confirms it indirectly. She says, why do you ask me that, son? There are many monks who know the minds of others.
Dodging slightly.
A little, but he insists, no, I'm not asking you about other monks. I'm asking you, lay devotee. And even then, she doesn't make a direct claim. She just says, sons, those who know the minds of others, well, they act in this way.
Implying like I've just been acting towards you.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a crucial detail. She never explicitly says, I have this power. She just describes how someone with that power might behave.
And this is the exact moment the monk completely panics. It just hits him.
Full-on panic mode.
He thinks, whoa, this is serious. I mean, ordinary people like me, we think all sorts of stuff. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, random thoughts. If I think anything inappropriate, even by accident, she'll know, she'll expose me. It's like the text says, catching a thief with his stolen goods by the top knot.
Yeah, a very vivid image. No escape.
So he immediately decides, right, that's it. I have to get out of here. I must flee.
He tells her he's leaving, going back to the Buddha,
Mm.
and she tries to persuade him to stay, maybe offering more support, but he's adamant. He insists on leaving,
Mm.
which really makes you think, doesn't it? Why would knowing someone knows your thoughts be so terrifying,
Mm.
especially if you're a monk, someone supposedly dedicated to purity and self-awareness?
It's a fantastic question. It suggests maybe the gap between the ideal and the reality of his own mind at that point. He obviously felt this immense pressure, this constant, unavoidable scrutiny. So he leaves, he goes back to the Buddha, and the Buddha naturally asks him, so why didn't you stay in Matika village? I heard it's a great place for practice.
And the monk just lays out his fear. Lord, that lay devotee, she knows all thoughts, good ones, bad ones. If I were to think anything even slightly unseemly, she'd know instantly. She'd expose me like a thief. He was genuinely scared.
Okay, so now we get to part 3, the Buddha's core teaching here. The Buddha listens patiently to the monk's fear, and then, maybe surprisingly, tells him he should have stayed there.
Right. You'd think maybe the Buddha would sympathize more, but no. He says you should have stayed. But the monk just insists, I couldn't, Lord. I just couldn't handle it. Then the Buddha asks him a very pointed question. Monk, all right, maybe you can't handle her knowing your thoughts, but can you protect just one thing?
One thing. The monk must have been confused. He asks, protect what, Lord? What one thing?
And this is where the Buddha delivers the absolute heart of this whole story, the core teaching. Protect your own mind. This mind, he says, is difficult to guard. Subdue your own mind. Don't worry about her knowing. Don't think about anything else. Just subdue your own mind. This mind is difficult to subdue.
Wow. Shift the focus entirely inward.
Exactly. Don't worry about the external perceiver. Worry about the internal state. And then the Buddha spoke that famous verse from the Dhammapada, which is just such a memorable, powerful nugget of insight.
Which verse is that? Can you share it?
Sure. It goes, it is good to subdue the mind, which is difficult to subdue, swift, and flits wherever it desires. A subdued mind brings happiness.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. Difficult to subdue, Dinagaha.
Yeah, it means it takes real effort, serious effort, to control it. It doesn't just behave on its own.
And swift, lahu.
That describes how incredibly fast thoughts arise and pass away. Blink and you miss them sometimes. Constant flux.
And the last part, flits wherever it desires. Yata kamani patino.
That's the mind just wandering off, landing on whatever object it fancies, regardless of whether it's skillful or unskillful, appropriate or not. It doesn't care about your status, your lineage, your age. It just plop, falls wherever it wishes.
So the Buddha is saying that getting a handle on this wild, restless, incredibly fast mind, and that's good, Tadu.
That's the key. It's good. Subduing it, Dhammatho, through the practices, specifically the Four Noble Paths leading to liberation, means making it free from all those defilements, those hindrances.
And why is that so good?
Because, as the verse concludes, a subdued mind brings happiness. Citta danta sukhavahai. And this isn't just, feeling okay. It refers to the deep, profound happiness of the stages of enlightenment, the paths and fruits, and ultimately the supreme, unshakable happiness of Nibbana itself.
So the message is clear. Stop worrying about external factors like someone reading your thoughts. Focus on your own internal work, mastering your own mind. That's where true happiness lies.
Absolutely. That's the crux of it. External circumstances become almost secondary when your internal state is grounded and controlled.
And this teaching right there had an immediate impact, didn't it?
Oh yeah, the texts say many in the audience right there attained spiritual stages like stream entry. Just from hearing this teaching, it was powerful. And then the Buddha sent the monk back to Matika village. He told him, go monk, don't think about anything else, just guard your mind, just stay there.
Okay, so part 4, redemption and final realization. The monk goes back. He's armed with this new, profound advice from the Buddha.
He returns. And the lay devotee, of course, using her divine eye, knows his thoughts. Yeah. She perceives immediately that he's come back having received a specific transformative teaching from the Buddha. She understands his new focus. And so she again prepares suitable food for him, knowing exactly what will support this new state of mind, this new determination.
And with the right food again, and now the Buddha's direct, powerful guidance focusing him inward.
This monk, the one who had been so freaked out by his own thoughts and her ability, he quickly attained arahantship, full liberation, within just a few days.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
Incredible, isn't it? It just shows the power of shifting your focus, having the right conditions, and that clear instruction from the Buddha. Mind over matter, really.
So after attaining arahantship, the highest state, he reflects on the lay devotee. He acknowledges her, thinking, wow, she has been my support in this life. She really helped me escape the cycle of existence.
A natural feeling of gratitude.
But then a deeper thought occurs to him. He wonders, has she always been my support like this? Or is this relationship, this dynamic, just unique to this particular lifetime? He gets curious about their history. So using his own divine eye, which is an ability arahants possess, he starts recalling his past lives, looking back at their connection.
And what he finds is, well, it's astonishing and kind of shocking. He recalls 99 past lives. And in every single one of those 99 lives where she had been his close attendant, like a foot-serving attendant, she'd actually caused his death.
99 times.
The text says it was due to her attachments to other men in those lives, some kind of betrayal or neglect that led to his demise, 99 times over. So the monk thinks, understandably, oh my goodness, this great lay devotee, she has done some heavy karma.
Yeah, no kidding. That must have been quite a realization. And it really does raise that question again. How does this incredibly complex web of past actions shape our present relationships? It's mind-boggling.
It really is. And meanwhile, back at her home, the lay devotee, still knowing his thoughts,
Of course she does.
she perceives that he's attained arahantship, first of all. And she knows he's now reflecting on their past lives together. She knows he's just seen those 99 lives where she caused his death. And she knows he's thinking her karma is heavy.
What does she do?
Well, she doesn't just sit there. She extends her own recollection, her own look into the past, even further back. She goes back to the 100th lifetime before the present one. And in that life, the 100th one back, she discovers that, yes, she was his foot-serving attendant then too, but on one crucial occasion in that life, she had actually saved his life.
Ah, a twist.
A major twist. Knowing this full picture now and knowing what he's thinking, she uses her divine voice, another ability, to send him a thought, a prompt. She says, son, reflect further. Look a bit more closely with more distinction.
Like, don't stop at 99.
Exactly. Keep going. So the monk hears this divine voice, this prompting in his mind, and he extends his reflection back to that 100th life. And there he sees it, the instance where she had given him the gift of life, saved him.
So he gets the complete picture now, the good and the bad across a century of lives.
The full, complex picture. And seeing this, understanding the whole intricate karmic connection, he feels relieved, happy, at peace with it. And then interestingly, he teaches her about the 4 paths and fruits of enlightenment right there while he's in Matika village. And shortly after that, he attains Parinibbana, the final passing away, complete Nibbana, end of his journey.
What a story. So let's try to wrap this up. What does this whole deep dive into the story of a certain monk really tell us? We've gone through, profound spiritual achievements, these incredible psychic abilities, and this one monk's really intense struggle with his own mind.
Yeah, we've definitely seen how suitable conditions, something as seemingly mundane as the right food, can have a massive impact on spiritual progress. That's a key takeaway.
Right.
And also how that fear of external judgment, like the monk's fear of being exposed, can actually be a huge obstacle to internal liberation.
But the recurring theme is the Buddha's teaching, isn't it?
Absolutely. Above all, the story just hammers home that timeless teaching, the absolute paramount importance of guarding your mind, subduing your own mind, because that is the path, the direct path to ultimate, lasting happiness, not external circumstances, but internal mastery.
And maybe the most surprising part, for me at least, is that final reveal, that incredible, complex, almost unbelievable tapestry of karma woven across lifetimes. I mean, think about it. Someone who's your greatest spiritual support now might have caused you serious harm in 99 previous lives, but then saved you in the 100th. It just makes you rethink connections entirely.
It really does. And that leads us to maybe a provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over. If our relationships, all our connections, are potentially shaped by these incredibly intricate, varied, sometimes contradictory karmic histories, what does that imply about how we approach things like forgiveness, compassion, acceptance in our own lives right now?
How might understanding that deep complexity change your perspective on the people you interact with every single day? The ones you love, the ones you find difficult?
It's something to think about, isn't it?
Definitely something to chew on. We hope this deep dive has given you some memorable details, maybe some profound insights to carry with you. Until next time, keep digging deeper.